So it's not the same as like a vision disability. It's not the same as being blind, but it's where your brain is just not processing it correctly.
Welcome to the Helping Kids Be Kids podcast with Little Lighthouse. I'm Ann Chinworth, the outreach manager here, and this is Hannah Jimenez, our director of education. And we're doing a series right now on our senses and sensory processing. And so this episode, we're going to talk about visual sensory processing.
Yeah.
So for those of us who don't know, what is visual sensory processing?
So visual processing is literally how our eyes take in information and send it to our brain, and our brain processes that and uses it to interpret the world around us. So I use my eyes to know this is a couch, this is a microphone.
Great.
By looking at things, we know what things are in the world around us.
Yeah. And you know, everyone seems to process different senses differently. Mm-hmm. I know some people are really, like, I'm a very visual learner. Mm-hmm. Other people are more tactile learners. What are those different thresholds look like for vision specifically?
Yeah, so with all sensory processing, we have different thresholds. So for like a low threshold, for someone who has like a low visual threshold, would be someone who really like interprets visual things like very like easily and is very like overstimulated by a lot of like bright colors or a lot of like visual clutter. So like when we look around like classrooms, like our classrooms are designed for the different needs of different classes. This particular classroom has like a lot of really great visual stimulation. So a kid who has a high threshold for visuals, their visual sense would like really love this room. So they're going to just take it all in. There's bright colors. There's lots of things to look at. There's lots of interesting things. But maybe a child who had like a very low threshold would probably be overwhelmed and feel like, you know, when I come in, like there's just like so much going on, and it might be hard for them to focus in a setting like this.
Yeah. I know for me, if my work area, like my desk, every morning I come in and I tidy my desk because I feel like if there's a lot of things on my desk, I get distracted and I like can't focus on what I'm working on my computer. Would that be like visual processing, or is that okay?
Absolutely.
Like, but then I learn really visually, so I don't know, maybe
like, you just like take it all in and learn visually, and I think that it does kind of go together. Maybe that's why it's so distracting, is because you take in all the stuff that you see, and so your brain is just taking everything in really fast, and it's too much.
So I'm just a little like too smart.
You're just really a visual processor.
I'm just kidding.
You're really great at visually processing. Yes.
I'm just like really high up there with visual processing.
I was also gonna say, like, visual seekers, a lot of times they'll seek out like bright lights and like toys that are like very vibrant and like light up and just have like a lot of things going on, because it's just like really like draws them in and is stimulating for them. Whereas like those visual avoiders are like, don't give me that thing that lights up, and like that's too much. Like they're not going to want to play with those kinds of toys. Yeah.
One of my nieces is very drawn to like things that light up and make noise and are loud and like exciting. And then my other nieces are like, no thanks. Like, specifically one of them likes very simple toys, like wooden blocks and like very simple toys that aren't very colorful or anything. So that's interesting to know about them. So what are some strategies that parents and teachers and even caregivers like me for my nieces, what can we do to help those who are seeking visual stimulation and those who are trying to like avoid?
So for kids who are avoiding visual stimulation, who are very like overwhelmed by too many visuals, it's important to have as little like visual clutter as possible. So like when you walk in some of our classrooms here, they almost look like a very like minimalist approach. They have like very little like stuff on the walls. Maybe the things on the walls are only related to like what they're teaching that day, instead of having like like different decorations. And then you're going to want to keep like workspaces clear. So maybe just like having their name written on the table rather than having like a big like pretty card that has their name on it, because that's going to be like visually overstimulating. Another thing that we do here a lot is that they'll take like butcher paper or like a sheet or blanket and they'll cover up shelves of like toys and things.
Smart. Yeah.
And that reduces a lot of the visual clutter. So like if you're trying to focus on circle time, but you can see out of the corner of your eye all the bright colored toys on the bookshelf, that can be very visually distracting. So they'll cover them up, or they'll even like turn full bookshelves around so that there's just less visual stimulation.
Smart.
Yeah. As far as like visual seekers, they're going to be your kids who like, you can give them lots of like colorful manipulatives and things to work with, or even like giving them things on like colored paper is really exciting and stimulating, and they'll enjoy that. If they're an avoider, like they're probably not going to like it when you print things on like Astro Bright's colors, you know? But anything that's going to be like visually stimulating, or they'll love like those little like, I don't know what they're called, like the little like lava timer things that have like
hourglass.
Yeah, the little hourglass things. They'll like turn those and look at them, or they'll like to watch like sand in an hourglass type thing. And they'll just be very like visually stimulated by any kind of movement like that also.
That's fun. We talk a lot about visual timers here, and I feel like that's one way that I really focus is with. Can you tell them a little bit about visual timers? I was kind of unfamiliar with them before I came to Little Lighthouse.
Yeah, so a visual timer, you can even like download apps for them now, but it just shows you visually, like you'll turn the little, like on the manual ones, you'll turn the dial and it'll like make it red all the way up. Like if you do like to 5 minutes, it'll be like red, and then the red slowly goes away, and that's going to show your visual learners, you know, that their time is coming to an end, and they'll be able to like visually see rather than understanding. Time is very abstract, especially to little kids. So they can visually see, okay, my time is getting shorter and it's going to be time to move on to my next activity or whatever's coming up.
Yeah. I like it even as an adult, like when I'm working on stuff. Yeah. There's a lot online that you can find, you know, visual timers, and some will be like an hourglass or like, where the circle fills up, or you can pick a different shape or whatever. And so those are really helpful for me to know when like if I'm working on a project for 20 minutes or whatever. I like all these strategies. So are there specific people who can help with, like help you come up with more strategies for visuals, the visual sense, or who are those professionals?
So kind of like with all of our other senses, our occupational therapists are going to be our number one person that can help us. So if you feel like your child is struggling with like being visually overstimulated and they're just having a lot of sensory overload, or if you feel like they're seeking a lot and you're not helping them meet those needs, talk to your pediatrician and see about getting an occupational therapy evaluation. And they can do lots of different strategies and techniques that will help with that. I did also want to mention there is, separately from just the processing, there is like a visual processing disorder.
Yeah. How is that different from like someone who just like avoids visual stimulation?
So it's kind of like a more extreme case where your brain is actually taking that information and not able to process visual information. So it's not the same as like a vision disability. It's not the same as being blind, but it's where your brain is just not processing it correctly. So it's like you can still see it and you still kind of like can know what things are, but it just maybe takes a long time. And so you can work with different professionals on like vision processing, and there's a lot of different tools you can use as well. So like in our classrooms, we use, for our kids with any kind of vision need, we use these little tactile schedules. So everywhere around here, you're going to see lots of like visual schedules where it's like a picture of a lunch table that says lunch next to it. So we know it's lunchtime, things like that. But our kids who have problems with visual processing aren't always going to understand that. So we have these tactile cards, and like this one says outside, and it's like a little grass you can feel. So you can say outside and they can feel it. And that's going to help their brain. Pairing it with that other sense is going to help their brain understand it better rather than just seeing a picture of grass. They can actually feel it and process it and know, okay, grass, it's time to go outside.
Well, anything else to add? I feel like we're learning a lot.
I don't think so.
Great. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you learned something new. Maybe you learned why you obsessively clean your desk like me. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you guys stay tuned for our next episodes. Thanks for being here.